Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. Our lead story for today. Police vow to find kidnapped grade 11 boy Kamogelo Baukudi, Sergeant Nzima Adoons arrested for demanding ransom. The story begins on a seemingly ordinary Thursday, the 5th of June 2025, in Bloemfontein, the judicial capital city of South Africa. But beneath the surface of everyday life, a sinister plot was unfolding, one that would grip the nation and leave a family in unimaginable anguish. This is the story of Kamogelo Baukudi, a 19-year-old, and the desperate search to bring him home. Kamogelo, a grade 11 learner at Martie Plessis Special School in Fichardtpark, a school catering for children with special needs, was abducted in a brazen act that appeared ripped from the pages of a crime novel. The events of that day would soon reveal a web of deceit, involving police impersonation, a desperate search for ransom money, and a shocking betrayal from within the very institution sworn to protect its citizens, the South African Police Service, or SAPS. The day began like any other. Daniel Malebatso, a trusted driver working for Kamogelo's family, arrived at Martie Plessis School to collect the teenager. It was a routine they had followed countless times before, a familiar and comforting end to the school day. But as they drove along Vereeniging Drive, a chilling scene unfolded. According to Malebatso's account, they heard a police siren blaring behind them. Looking in his rearview mirror, he saw a white Toyota Hilux GD-6 double-cab bakkie rapidly approaching. The bakkie was fitted with blue lights on the grille, mimicking the appearance of a legitimate police vehicle. It was a convincing facade, one designed to deceive and intimidate. Malebatso pulled over, assuming he was dealing with law enforcement officers. Two men emerged from the Toyota Hilux. One was dressed in a full police uniform, complete with all the authentic accoutrements of authority. The other wore a blue tracksuit. The man in the police uniform approached Malebatso and informed him that the Suzuki Ertiga they were driving, with Kamogelo inside, was suspected of delivering drugs. It was a false accusation, a carefully constructed lie designed to separate Kamogelo from his trusted driver. The two men, posing as police officers, separated Daniel and Kamogelo and instructed Daniel to drive in front whilst they followed from behind to the Park Road police station. Both vehicles turned back and drove in the direction of Vereeniging Drive. Daniel alleges that a truck went in between the Suzuki he was driving and the Toyota Hilux, and he never saw it again. In that moment, Kamogelo Baukudi vanished. As soon as Malebatso lost sight of the supposed police vehicle, he knew something was terribly wrong. He immediately reported the incident to the authorities, setting in motion a frantic search for the missing teenager. The initial hours were filled with confusion and uncertainty. Was this a case of mistaken identity? Had Kamogelo been caught up in a legitimate police operation? Or was something far more sinister at play? The truth began to unravel when Kamogelo's parents received a chilling phone call. The caller demanded a ransom for their son's safe return. It was a clear indication that this was not a case of mistaken identity, but a carefully planned kidnapping. The family, understandably distraught, contacted the police, who launched a full-scale investigation. Free State Police spokesperson Brigadier Motantsi Makhele later revealed that the suspect had made calls to the victim's mother asking for a ransom. He explained that the police focused on the kidnapping and the subsequent ransom demands, and that the investigation into the ransom led them to believe the suspect was involved. The investigation took a shocking turn when the police zeroed in on a suspect within their own ranks. Sergeant Nzima Adoons, a 42-year-old member of the SAPS, became the prime suspect in Kamogelo's abduction.
On Saturday, we pronounced, when we were addressing the media, that we have beefed up the team with a team coming from the level of province, which is working with this kidnapping type of cases. And out of this team, there was a discussion that we must narrow the investigation towards the inner part of the organization, because some of the vehicles or type of vehicles which was mentioned, it's also being utilized by the police. And then that took us to a level whereby we managed to trace this vehicle within one of the units in the province. And this is what immediately took us to where we pick up this individual, member, and he was interrogated. And after questioning him, eventually we discovered that he is involved. And this placed him at one of the places where, or the route where this vehicle was intercepted. And out of that, on Sunday, the decision was that he must be detained, awaiting to appear in court this morning.
The revelation that a police officer was allegedly involved in the kidnapping of a teenager sent ripples of disbelief and outrage through the community. How could someone sworn to uphold the law be accused of such a heinous crime? The arrest of Sergeant Adoons was a significant breakthrough in the case, but it did not bring Kamogelo home. The teenager remained missing, his whereabouts unknown. The police intensified their search efforts, deploying maximum resources to locate the missing boy. Police later found both Malebatso and Baukuti's cell phones under a bridge over Ferreira Road. The Ministry of Police assured the public that maximum resources had been deployed in the case relating to the disappearance of 19-year-old Kamogelo Baukudi. A multidisciplinary investigative task force was established, including detectives, crime intelligence officers, visible policing members, a hostage negotiator and assistants from the private security industry. The team followed up on various leads, spoke to family members and friends, and engaged with their sources in an attempt to find the missing teen. The case against Sergeant Adoons moved swiftly through the courts. He was charged with kidnapping and an additional charge of extortion, related to the ransom demands. During his brief court appearance on Monday, the 9th of June 2025, he was remanded in custody. During a court hearing, Free State Police spokesperson Brigadier Motantsi Makhele said that after examining the origin of the ransom demands, investigators quickly suspected Adoons' involvement, leading to the additional charge of extortion. However, the legal proceedings were soon hampered by a frustrating obstacle. Kamogelo, the victim of the kidnapping, was needed to participate in an identification parade, a crucial step in confirming Sergeant Adoons' involvement in the crime. But with Kamogelo still missing, the identification parade could not proceed. This procedural impasse added to the family's suffering. The court expressed its frustration with the delays, indicating that if the police had not conducted the required identification parade by the third appearance, proceedings would continue without following that procedure. The procedural impasse has intensified the suffering of Baukuti's family, who were present in court and visibly devastated by the continued delays. A representative from the South African Funeral Practitioners Association, where Baukuti's mother holds membership, spoke about the family's deteriorating emotional state. The representative said that Kamogelo's mother and the entire family were devastated, and that as a parent, they understood how she was feeling. The representative made it clear that their sole objective was to demand the unconditional release of Kamogelo Baukudi. The repeated court postponements have tested the family's endurance beyond limits. The association representative expressed growing frustration with the legal delays, stating they were disappointed by the postponement because their only interest was the return of the child. They emphasized that every second that passed without Kamogelo's return was an agony to them and to the family, and that their patience was running out. The Free State Education Department said it was working closely with the police and other stakeholders to ensure Kamogelo's safe return. A search task team had been launched to find Kamogelo and the suspects. The department urged anyone with information to assist in the investigation and appealed to all stakeholders to work together to support Kamogelo's family during this challenging period. They emphasized that the department's priority was Kamogelo's safety and they were committed to working with the police to bring him home. Free State Education MEC, Mantlage Julia Maboya, appealed to community members to assist police in finding Kamogelo and bringing him back home safely. A prayer service was held at Kamogelo School, Martie du Plessis Special School in Fichardtpark, to show support for the family and Kamogelo during this difficult time. The Free State Premier Marqueen Letsahamatay said that while the arrest brought some relief, the priority was still finding Kamogelo, and that his whereabouts were heartbreaking. She emphasized her support for the family in prayers. Letsahamatay also applauded the SAPS, noting that they were unbiased in dealing with cases and that they pursued suspects regardless of their position, even if they were one of their own. Despite the tireless efforts of the police, Kamogelo remains missing. The investigation is shrouded in secrecy, with authorities withholding information to avoid compromising the case.
According to our request, remember this is for bail information, whereby we give to the court what we have so that they can apply their mind whether we can recess or postpone for the bail application. And I think thus far what we submitted to the court accepted it, and they allowed us that space so that, remember, we have the main objective is to get Kamogelo back home safe, and we must make sure that he's alive. And we don't want to jeopardize that by rushing into matters. Hence we allow that space, and the bail application, when it takes place, then we have covered the ground, ultimately with everything we wanted.
The lack of updates only intensified the public's anxiety and fueled speculation about Kamogelo's fate. On Friday the 13th of June 2025, the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court postponed the bail application of a police officer, 42-year-old Nzima Adoons, who allegedly kidnapped Kamogelo. The postponement until the 24th of June 2025 is to allow for the conclusion of the identification parade. The search for Kamogelo continues, driven by the hope that one day, he will be found and returned to his loving family. The people of Bloemfontein, and indeed the entire nation, hold their breath, praying for a miracle. Thank you for watching this news video. We'd love to hear what you think about this story, so please leave your comments below. We read them all and appreciate your insights. Join us again in our next strange story. Until then, goodbye.